This episode of the Lead Machine Growth Show is brought to you by Lead Machine, the step-by-step, tech-easy system for getting leads online. Are you ready to start attracting your ideal audience right away? Join the 5-day Lead Magnet Magic Challenge today at www.getleadmachine.com/magic. Say goodbye forever to struggling with lead magnets and say hello to getting your offers seen by your ideal clients. Welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show, where you will discover how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream. Paul Guyan, the mastermind behind the Lead Machine, introduces you to trailblazers who inspire you to implement life-changing solutions and systems you can model to nurture your leads and get your offers seen by your ideal clients who will invest in themselves and you. Be sure you visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, tune in and get ready to transform your vision into reality.
Welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show, where passion meets entrepreneurship and dreams become reality. I'm Paul Guyan, your Lead Machine coach, host, and international best-selling author, and tech and marketing expert. I'm passionate about helping entrepreneurs, coaches, and solopreneurs tackle their tech, master their message, and design their dream. Are you ready to unleash your full potential and achieve extraordinary results? And you're in the right place. We'll dive deep into the strategies and insights of stories of trailblazers who have overcome the obstacles of technology, marketing, and mindset. I'm going to turn off my phone.
I always leave mine in another room.
Are you ready to unleash your full potential with extraordinary results? Then you're in the right place. We'll dive deep into the strategies, insights, and stories of trailblazers who have overcome the obstacles of technology, marketing, and mindset and are making a huge impact on their audience and customers. So buckle up and get ready for an exhilarating ride filled with inspiration, motivation, and practical advice. Whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business to the next level, let's get this conversation started and turn your dreams into reality. And thanks for tuning in. In this episode, we discuss Podcast Marketing 101. Podcasting is a powerful and increasingly popular way to promote your brand, connect with your audience, and establish yourself as a thought leader in your industry. Unlike other forms of marketing, podcasting offers a unique opportunity to build a strong and loyal community of listeners who tune in each week to hear what you have to say. But to succeed in this competitive landscape, you need to understand the basics. And that's why I have our guest on today, what it is, why it matters, and how it differs from other forms of marketing. By creating valuable and engaging content that speaks to your audience's interests and needs, leveraging social media and other channels to spread the word, and focusing on building a strong and authentic relationship with your listeners, can unlock the true power of podcast marketing and take your brand to new heights. Basically, what I'm saying is podcasting works, and it's awesome. So I first met Denise, our guest, through the Business Plan Answer Man. His name is David Brown, and he's an amazing friend. He and I have grown a friendship over the years, and it's really interesting how we come around and we cycle through and network with people. I've known Denise for I think as long as I've known David Brown, and that's how we first met. So I'm honored to have you on the show, Denise. Let me give you a proper introduction. Denise Griffitts is the owner of Your Office on the Web, a dynamic digital agency specializing in social media marketing, web development, and consulting. Her expertise in these areas help businesses build a strong online presence and achieve their goals. In addition to running her agency, Denise hosts the highly acclaimed Your Partner in Success radio program. This show has gained recognition as one of the top 2% globally ranked podcasts, where Denise shares valuable insights, interviews industry experts, and provides guidance on various aspects of entrepreneurship and business success. Denise is a self-proclaimed nerd in stilettos, and given her profession as the web business, the web development business, and she's a skilled cat herder. And I also hear that she's also an alligator wrangler. Wow.
Yes.
Her ability to navigate the digital landscape with technical expertise and strategic thinking has earned her a stellar reputation in the industry. She continues to make significant impact in the business world, helping entrepreneurs and business owners thrive in the online space. Denise, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. You're right. We have known each other or of each other on Facebook and I think LinkedIn for a number of years. And when I was having a conversation with David Brown, the answer man, and he mentioned that you were starting this podcast, and I almost dislocated my shoulder. I stuck my hand up in the air, said, pick me, I want to go on. So, and the truth is, even though I'm in front of my own microphone 3 times a week, I rarely get to be on other people's podcasts. And I think that's my own fault. I don't ask to be on other podcasts. And I suspect that people think, oh, she's too busy. She's not going to come on. So they don't ask. And my feelings are hurt. But you asked, and thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad that you're here. We talked a little bit. We talked quite a bit yesterday on the phone just to prepare for this. And we're really not prepared, but it's going to be fun. We're gonna dive in to the basics of podcast marketing. What is it, why it matters, and how it differs from other forms of marketing.
Well, and I have to be honest here. We had that conversation yesterday because we were scheduled to do this yesterday, and I was late. And I'm never late, and I was so embarrassed. And I had to start the conversation out with, I have been wrangling alligators. I mean, I was up to my eyeballs in alligators yesterday. So that's where that came from. But I finally got them knocked off of the porch. I'm joking, but man, it was rough. And thank you for being so patient and letting me come back in today.
Oh, of course. And that was fun. It was just kind of breaking the ice because we really never had much more than an online conversation. So it was really good to meet you and to get to know you and discover some of the things that we have in common with, you know, we were talking about the sweet spot and working and doing projects that we love to do, and sometimes that we know how to do, but we really don't want to do. And I advise everyone to work in that sweet spot of what people want you to do and what you love to do. And that's a great intersection of your passion.
It really is. And I'm a web developer, as you mentioned. And, you know, I have a long disused computer science degree that nobody cares about but me because I had to pay for it and kill myself going to school at night.
Oh.
I've got it, by golly. But when I started about 20 years ago, things were very different, Paul. I mean, I was a rare female in the tech industry. I was building websites in the oil field industry, if you can imagine. I mean,
wow.
Old boys would see me coming and they'd say, hey, you want a beer? No, I just want you to hire me to do a podcast, to do a website. But it was interesting. But back then, as you undoubtedly remember, we didn't have WordPress. We didn't have graphical user interface. We could almost maybe put a picture up on a website that was built HTML and it had a dark background and white text, or it had a white background and black text. We were very limited. And then all of a sudden, and I'm giving my age away, I think, but here comes YouTube. And here comes, what was it, MySpace or something? And I was paying attention.
MySpace, yeah.
Yeah. And I had a good number of clients by then because I don't quit. You know, if I say I'm going to build you a website, I darn build it. And I have to tell you, out of all of these clients that I've had over the last 20 years, I still have all but 2 of them. One passed away and the other one moved to Germany. You know, he gave up. I still have those same, we've built some of those websites multiple times. But why I'm mentioning social media is because I started paying attention and saying, hey, to my clients, have you heard about this? You know, I mean, I don't think it was, maybe it was J.C. Penney that I saw first on, I think it was a TV commercial or overstock.com. And I went, what the heck is that? So I started talking to my clients about social media. Now, of course, I do all of their social media, have done for
Mhm.
years. But along the way, I needed to get my own voice heard. And as I told you, and if anybody who listens to me knows, I am a highly committed introvert, highly committed. Seriously, my goal in life is to grow up, sit on my covered front porch in a rocking chair with a cat by my side, a shotgun on my lap, a bottle of gin, I don't drink, next to me, but I'm going to grow up and yell at kids, get off the grass. I mean, I have a plan. So yes, I'm an introvert. I'm not shy. I don't have any filters, as you already know, but
Yeah.
I needed to get my voice heard. And the reason it was so important for me to start my podcast when nobody was around to help me, and I mean nobody knew how to do it. I often think I was the only one of 10 people that were doing it. But you won't find pictures of me on the internet. They don't exist. I take my privacy very seriously. I read 1984 when I was a kid, scared the crap out of me, excuse the language. And I was already an intensely private person anyway. So there are no pictures of me. There really are not. So I went on somebody, I was invited on somebody else's podcast and I didn't even know what it was, but I thought, oh, what the heck? I didn't even know it was a podcast. I thought they just wanted to have a recorded conversation. And afterwards I said, what was that? What did we just do? She said, honey, that was a podcast. I said, show me. And that was it. That was, I put my foot, drew my line in the sand and off I went. Again, nobody to teach me how to do it. So my point is, you don't have to have a lot of equipment. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You need a good microphone. You need a quiet place and you need something to talk about. Something interesting, something that people will come to you and say, hey, tell me more.
Right. And I think the conversations between the guests and the host, if it's an interview style type of show, it is what really makes it interesting, because you can have a conversation like this, and it's really difficult to do that in social media and other forms of marketing. So you can actually interview your potential clients, and also influencers that have audiences for your potential clients. So that's really a powerful thing, isn't it?
It is. And mine was always an interview type of a podcast, because as fascinating as I find myself, I'm not that interesting. I can't talk for 15 minutes. I mean, really, what do you have to say after a while? No, I got to go outside. I'm done. But I always, and I started out saying, well, will you come on my podcast? And of all people, early on, Bob Berg, the author of Go Giver.
Oh, I know Bob. Yeah.
You know Bob Berg. He was my guest. And I had always been a fan of Larry Winget. And we all know who Larry Winget is. And I had watched his little TV show again back in the day. And, I followed him on his Facebook page. And I was Larry Winget seriously saved my podcast, because I couldn't find guests. Nobody heard of me. They didn't know what I wanted. They wouldn't pay any attention to me at all. I was too young. I was too raw. I was too unknown. Nobody knew a thing about me. They weren't going to waste time. And frankly, I wasn't offering it properly. I was just saying, hey, would you like to come on my podcast? They're like, who are you? So I had to learn how to market it. But one day I was at my desk and thinking, I've got to shut this down. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of energy. It's breaking my heart. It really was. It was painful to make that decision. So Larry Winget popped into my head, and this was before we had Facebook Messenger. And I sent him a note on Facebook, told him who I was, that Bob Berg and a couple of his other speaker buddies had been on my show. I still don't know how that happened, but I don't even remember now. But I told him that I was a fan of his, and I proved it by mentioning his little TV show that he had, that I thought, The Big Spender or something like that. And I sent it, bowed my head. And when I say I bowed my head, I mean I smacked my head on the desk thinking, Denise, really? That was Larry. So I left. I went out into the refrigerator and I did I have this open refrigerator door meditation that I do. I open the door, stick my head in it, and calm down, because who knows why they're standing in front of the refrigerator, right? You just go blank. So 20 minutes later, I came back in here and there was a note from Larry Winget and said, sure. I went, and I quit breathing. And he's been my guest multiple times. Of course, he's retired now, but he's one of my favorite guests. But Larry and I have a lot in common. Neither one of us has filters. In fact, we have to be careful. So you never know where that conversation is going to go, but he really did. And I give him full credit. He saved this podcast.
Wow. I'm sure you told him that too.
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's, I think when you get a good guest on your show, that really helps. You have like the cool kid on the block syndrome going for you. And that's where your network comes in, your connections. And it's surprising how easy it was to get a few guests, just because they were friends of mine, but they were in the right line of business for me to ask, like Tony Rubleski and Ben Gay. And Ben Gay the third was on my show. I know he's on your show regularly.
Yeah, every Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was pretty easy to do that because of what I've been doing for the past 10 or 15 years. And that's working kind of behind the scenes with Tony and with Ben and with Brad Zollis and David Brown and all those people. And
I know every one of them. In fact, I
know
built
you do.
Brad's website.
Yeah. And the power of networking, I think, extends it, because once you have guests, then their audiences are interested, and they may have people that they can refer to your show. And they said, who would be a good fit for my show? And they said, and Dan Janelle just did that. Did the other day. He referred three guests to my show, and one of them just signed up.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you're a good podcast host, and you are clearly, you're going to do whatever you can. And I call them high rollers. It's not like we're in Vegas. I'm in Southwest Louisiana, equidistant between Hurricanes Katrina and Rita, if anybody's wanting to know. But I have some high value guests, and I'm grateful for them. And I will constantly say, do you need more? Do you want to look for more podcast, hosts? And and I'm making introductions every week.
Yeah.
I don't lose anything from it. I gain a lot from it. So do they.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's great. So let's talk a minute about building a community around your podcasts, including the tactics for engaging listeners and creating a sense of belonging.
That, I think, I learned by instinct. I mean, we want to treat our guests and our audience the same way you would treat family when they show up for gumbo or Thanksgiving dinner. You want to make them welcome. You want to make sure that you appreciate that they're here. What can you do to help them? And then now, we've got such access to social media. If you haven't taken your podcast and immediately put it out to YouTube, if you haven't put it out it should be on your website. And I, can talk about that another time if you like, but it should be on your own website as well as out there with RSS feeds. You need to be out there on Pinterest, of all places. It's its own search engine. You need to be on Instagram. You need to be tagging these people. Don't just plunk it out there and say, hey, I had Ben Gay the third on the other day. I'm making sure that he's tagged. So people go, okay, that's Ben Gay. What? Oh, okay, I know who he is. Yeah. And the easiest way to say it, Paul, is just give them a lot of love. These people show up, they come up prepared. They are ready and willing to rock your world. And you've got to show them as much love and appreciation as you can. And I'm not being schmaltzy about that. They earned it. They absolutely earned it.
Well, yeah, they're putting their time and taking time out to be with you and talk about a topic, and it's fun, but it's also work, and you've got to prepare, you've got to schedule, you've got to get ready to be on the show and all that, and so yeah. So what are some of the ways that you have used to spread that love? Social media is one way. Have you done anything else offline, or cards, or how do you pull that off?
Well, I always say I send thank you cards, but here's my process, and anybody's welcome to use it. It has worked for me for many, many years. You mentioned earlier that we had this nice conversation yesterday. I will not have anybody on my podcast show without doing a pre-interview. It's just a no. I won't do it. We have to spend some time, and a lot of people don't. Our friend Adam Homey does. He says, "Oh, just show up." Nope, I'm not going to do it because I don't know what we're going to talk about. But when I get these people on the show, it gives me an opportunity to, we get to connect. Literally, we get to connect. We get all happy with each other, And I need to tell you this too. People say, "Oh, well, here's my one sheet." Those one sheets are very limited in what they can tell you. A conversation tells you pretty much everything you need to hear. And in all the years I've been doing this, I've only had one person that I said, "You're just not ready. You don't really have anything. You don't have a website." And he kept asking me, "Can I come on your show? Can I come on your show? Can I come on your show?" And finally we had a long conversation, and I said, "Look, you're not ready." And I gave him homework, and God bless him, he did it. So he got ready. He wanted to be on podcasts. I said, "You're not ready for mine, but do this homework, clean up your website, get some call to action on there, get some other information that people can go, oh yeah, you're an interesting guy," and go on other people's podcasts and then circle back around to me. But it's rare that I will have a conversation where I just don't like them. And I'll tell you right now, if I don't like you, you're not coming on the show. I have to spend 6 minutes with you. Ain't happening, done, as we say in the Deep South. But I always do those quick interviews, and I'll be very frank with you. That's where a lot of the magic happens. A lot. I've often wished I would record those and just call it good.
Yeah.
So that's critical for me. And then, I have a very kind of a rigid process that I keep it simple, stupid, but it's a very easy, rigid process. I will send them the scheduler, send them everything they know to connect with me online, offline. Then the week of, let's say you pick a Friday, because I broadcast live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Wednesday, of course, is gay. And let's just say you pick a Friday in September, which is when I'm booking now. The week of, I will be in touch and say, "Hey, are you still good? Has anything changed on your calendar?" Once they they confirm, I get it all set up. And that's when I start making magic. I post it all over social media. Here's my next guest. My next guest on Monday is Tommy Breedlove. I've already got that out of Canva. I'm putting it up as soon as we're done. So I put that out there. I tag him. And then the next day I will say, "Okay, here's the rest of it. Here's the whole body. Here's the link. Here's everything." So I'm at it. You're not going to not know that I'm interviewing Tommy Breedlove on Monday. You're just not. And now if you're paying any attention. So
can I stop you there for a second?
Sure.
How would you do that? I pre-record my shows. I'm not doing them live yet. I probably will move to that. So how do you do that? How would you suggest I do that when I'm scheduling in August now, and I've got Dan is coming up next week. So instead of, I guess I'll walk through this. So maybe I should start on Monday, start promoting him, or over the weekend, promoting him that, "Hey, my next guest is this, he's coming up."
Yep.
Tag him, let him know.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that way people are going, "Oh, hey, I know Dan. I mean, I've interviewed him. I've got some of his books in here." By the way, this office, my office in my home, has hundreds of books in here, hundreds. Every single book in here was gifted to me by a podcast guest. Somewhere along the line, I became known as somebody who is very author friendly. And I've read every single one of them. And in fact, I just wrote a blog post about it. But yeah, I mean, Paul, I would go ahead and start talking about it now. So people don't just go, "Well, I don't know who Dan Janelle is." Introduce him. Assume that nobody knows who he is, which is not true, but just assume that, and start, setting that picture, like, here's what we're going to talk about. This is who he is. And then by the time that show rolls around, you've got some people going, hey, I want to know more. But yeah,
Right.
always get out there and get ahead of it. And then afterwards, you just reverse it. Here's the YouTube, here's everything else. We spoke about Larry Winget not too long ago. I think the last really good episode that I had with him was 5 or 6 years ago. I just reposted it. It's evergreen. It's excellent. You just keep sharing. And I tell people, it's not a one and done. You have to constantly be promoting your guest, and not in a skeevy way. You just want to keep introducing them, tell them thank you, pick pieces out of the podcast that really resonated with you, write a little graphic, shove it out there, put the link in. It's so easy. Canva is your friend. Seriously. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be fancy. Just get it out there.
Yeah, I love Canva. I started playing around with it. Of course, I have access to Adobe and all that, but it's got a real tough learning curve, and I can do a few things on it. But Canva, I had the free version for a couple of years and said, "Oh, this is pretty cool. Yeah, it's free. Whatever, resize." But then I had to resize a poster, and I had a hell of a time doing it. And I actually brought it into Adobe Illustrator so I could manipulate it and scale it up from an 8.5 by 11 to it was actually a postcard. I started with a template that was too small. I didn't start with the right thing, and I said, darn it, I'm going to get the pro version so I can resize the thing. And then from there, I've been delving into. They just keep adding more functionality. They've got AI involved in their platform. They have a mail merge function in their platform.
Yeah.
That I don't know if you knew about that, but I just did a lead magnet with 10 deadly lead magnet sins or mistakes that are costing you leads, and I had a list in a spreadsheet and a graphic, and I just like a mail merge you would use in your word processing software, Microsoft Word or whatever, and boom, there you go. I had social posts and the makings of a lead magnet. I put an intro and an outro on it and a call to action, and there you go. And now I'm going to use it for, using it for promoting itself or whatever else I'm doing. So it's really easy to use. So
it is.
Tangent.
And I go and no, not really, because this is important. I see too many people saying, "Oh, I'm going to have a podcast." I'm going to go off on a tangent for a minute. I may get bitter, so just stop me if I start getting.
That's okay.
But I spend some time lurking in a couple of Facebook pages, and I'm telling you, Paul, I'll never need a facelift. I read some of this garbage, or as we say in the South, garbage, and my eyebrows hit my hairline, and I look like I'm permanently surprised, like I had a really bad facelift. I'm like, you did what? What? Would you people stop? What? And my poor cat, his name is #Hamilton is an ass. He'll leave the room when he knows I'm going into those Facebook groups, because I'm going to start saying some bad words. There's an awful lot of really garbage information out there. And here's my best advice to you. If you're listening to or being advised by somebody who has been a podcaster for 11 and a half minutes, stop it. Find people who know what they're talking about and who can prove that they know what they're talking about. And here's the thing about people like you, Paul, and me. We want to help you. If you have a question, we'll answer it. We're not going to say, "Oh, well, jump on Fiverr or jump on here or jump on, go pay me $100. Just ask me the question. I'll be happy to help you." So, just like I did with Larry, just ask. You don't know unless you ask. So I went off on my tangent. What tangent were you on? And I'll join you.
If you don't ask, the answer is always no. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. We were talking about the process that you're using for spreading the love,
right?
And
Canva.
we got off on Canva. Yeah.
I wanted to go back to Canva. What I did some years ago was in Canva, I just created a template. I use the same template for my guests, and I use the same template for my guest coming up is this person. 2 templates. That's it. That's all I use. I just plunk in a little bit of information. I change the image out and I'm good to go. I'm in and out of there in 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's easy.
Did I
And then,
keep it simple, stupid? I keep everything simple, stupid.
so posting then. So do you use a tool to post on the different platforms, or you do that manually on each one?
No, I don't do anything manually if I can avoid it. I use a tool called Hero Post, which I really, really like.
Hero Post?
Hero Post. Yeah, it was an AppSumo thing. And I did
Yeah.
this with Hootsuite forever. And I liked Hootsuite. But all of a sudden they decided to quadruple their prices and they wouldn't grandfather us in, no matter how long we'd been there. And I said, okay, you have a nice day now. And I left. A lot of us left. So I found Hero Post and I've been very, very pleased with it.
Well, I've been using Canva. Canva will post to a couple things, but it's not really that powerful. It does have a content calendar though, so that's pretty cool. A nice feature, and I'm using it for one of my groups to post daily themes, and that's on a schedule, and that's cool. So Hero Post is a tool that you use that can post your. Obviously, you need to reformat some of the graphics and for the right for the different platforms. Does that tool help you do that?
It doesn't.
Or
you don't even have to do that. It just takes it and does it on its own. Yeah.
Oh,
it really does. Like I said, I've been with it a couple of years and I've been really pleased with it. But again, keep it simple, stupid. I will go, and I do this for all of my clients. I use it not just for me. I use it for all of my clients. So they're scheduled for at least 2 weeks out. And I don't have to worry about, do I have anything for this client or that client? No, it's all good. It's all in there.
Fabulous. That's great.
And I bought it with, AppSumo. You buy it and then maybe you stack it and get a little bit better. But once you're done, you're done. You're not paying a monthly fee, which I really liked.
Right. And they come out with AppSumo comes out with specials on a cycle. I don't know what the cycle is, but on a cycle base.
Yeah. And I spent way too much money. I spent all my lunch money and the cat's money too, but that's okay. I use it all. So, but we were going to talk about how starting a podcast, I think we were going to go into, how podcasts are really, in my opinion, a fantastic tool for raising brand awareness. And that's why I call it Marketing 101. You can be like me, a solopreneur. I have a team, but I'm a solopreneur. And all the way on up to Audible. I mean, you've got to have brand going on. And listen, if you don't believe how awesome podcasting can be for businesses, it really is Marketing 101 on steroids. I can't talk, but it's an incredible way to connect with your audience and take your brand to new heights. And when you hop on the podcasting train, you really do open up a whole new world of opportunities. They are such a fantastic tool for raising brand awareness, like I just said. But think about this, Paul. You're reaching people directly through their earbuds or their speakers, and they're tuning in to hear what you have to say. It's like having a conversation with them while they're sipping their morning coffee, or they're going for a jog, or they're in their car. And your brand, whatever that brand is, becomes a part of their routine. And that kind of exposure can't be bought. It's pure gold. And here, let me go a little further. If you can't quite envision that for your brand, just think about Mike Rowe. Everybody knows Mike Rowe, and he generates massive respect for his brands just by showing up and being, Mike Rowe. So think about that.
Yeah. So how can we generate leads from podcasts? So how can you monetize it, or get people to come to your website, to your offer? I know a lot of people, and I teach how to build a lead machine. And so my clients are interested in how to get traffic to their offers and to their leads, to their lead machines that they build, that I help them build. And so can you tell us a little bit about that?
One of the things, and this is probably not going to be very popular, but I've been podcasting a very, very long time, and I lurk around. I think I've shared this with you. I lurk around in a couple of pretty well-known podcast Facebook groups, and there are always 2 or 3 questions that get asked, no matter if you've been around for a while or if your podcast is 10 minutes old. How do I get sponsors, and how do I make a living out of this? You don't. Nobody knows who
Right.
you are. It's a long game. Podcasting, like any other, kind of true marketing event, if you will, or idea, it's a long game. People have to get to know you, like you, trust you, and feel comfortable around you. Now, I have had people say, I've had publicists say, Denise, we'll pay to get people on your show. I've never taken any of those up because the quality of people they want to come on my show don't meet my standards. That's why they have to be paid to get on. You have to be careful with things like that. But it may be that if you are marketing kind of like what you're talking about with lead magnets, you can eventually get sponsors. I've had sponsors that I've accepted because they're very high level people, but I don't look for them. I just don't. But there's the best thing you can do. Again, this is not going to be the most popular thing because there's no quick, easy fix. Get your voice out there, get credible, get very credible. People pay attention to you. They follow you. They refer you. If you're on your show talking about the business that you do, listen, when I'm talking with my guests, I'll say, well, as you know, I'm a web developer and I own a marketing agency. That's all I do. That's it. The show isn't about me, but I say just enough people say, well, let me go find Denise. I need a website, or, maybe she can refer me for this, that, and the other. You want to be good enough at the conversations that you're having with your guests that they're also paying attention to what you're saying and what you're offering. And at the end of it, at the end of my podcast, at any rate, I will say, okay, this is where you can find me. And I'll make sure it's in the outro. This is where you can find me. And I've picked up clients over the years. I've picked up referrals. I have picked up colleagues. You have to be credible. It's a slow moving game, and it's not really a game, but you have to be very credible. And if you're not, people are not going to buy what you've got anyway. So, show up and do the best that you can do, but don't quit your job. Just don't. And another thing, and I will say this from the bottom of my heart, again, I watch these people in these groups, and sometimes I think I've shared this with you. I'm never going to need a facelift. I'll read some of the so-called advice that get, bandied about in some of these groups. My eyebrows hit my hairline. I look permanently surprised. My skin is stretched out over my face. I'm like, oh my God, you did not just give that kind of advice. And people take this advice, like buy this equipment, hire an editor. You don't need to do that. If you are not a business doing this, please don't start spending money that your wife is going to divorce you over. Just don't. You can do it like you're doing it, like I do. You can do it on your own. I don't have a team for my podcast. I do every bit of it, every bit of it. But I don't, it doesn't make any money at this moment for me to pay anybody to do it. And to be honest, I like doing it because I get to meet the people that I'm going to be chatting with. I mean, I enjoy it. I don't want to outsource it, to be honest. But going back to how do you generate leads? You generate leads by getting out there, being the best podcaster you can be, bringing in fantastic guests, because now you're going to be leveraging their audience. It's not just you. It's not just your audience. You bring in high-level guests. They have huge audiences, and those people now hear you. Is that helpful?
Right. Yeah, it's helpful. And I think that to add to that, it's a fabulous networking opportunity. I mean, think about it. In the old days, we'd go to networking events and pitch. But really, they become effective when you start to build relationships. And my network has grown in the last 15 weeks just because I've stuck my neck out and created a podcast and expanded my reach just by meeting people. And it's amazing how it's growing. It's growing very fast, and I'm sure you have the same the same thing, like the colleagues that you have and have met, and the guests, and they if you do a good job and you're really real, and you're trying to be real and not trying to be fake, and you know your stuff, they're going to be attracted to you, and they're going to say, hey, can I be on your show? I just had I reached out to a manufacturer of software that we were talking about offline, TechSmith, and they're going to be on the show. And
we did talk about that. So did any of my little advice help you? We
well,
don't
I
need
didn't
to
have
know
to.
what it was, but
I didn't have to use it.
right.
I just gave him a great pitch, and I said, hey, this is what my show's about. I think your message would resonate well with my listeners, and boom, they said, yeah, hey, let's chat. So I'm chatting with them. I'm doing a pre-call with them on Monday, and going to have them on the show. And they have other content creators on different subjects in their company, that especially one on AI that I'm looking to get an introduction. So that'll be easy to do.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, thank you. And so it's like networking. If you have a lead machine that you can mention and offer as a gift, or if I sponsor my own show, so I have a gift that I offer, or you can go to download or join my challenge, and my guests have gifts, and that way they can generate leads that way, and then they have a follow-up system that's in place, or a CRM, and they can take that offline or online, or however they do it. So it is all about being real, getting the visibility, and expanding your reach, and just like you said, it's a long game, and that's why I'm in it. I'm in it for the long game. And it's fun. It's fun doing this. We're having fun. And, you and I have known each other for a long time, but we've never met until now.
Right.
And really, we've never talked until now. So that's fabulous. So let's talk a little bit about the those folks out there who are not ready to host their podcast. What about guesting on podcasts? Is there a and I know I've got a number of clients that are asking me that question, and they in my mastermind group, and they're going, yeah, that's a lot of work. I just want to be visible, and I want to get my feet wet. So what would be a good way to get started as a podcast guest?
And that's the best way to get started on podcasting. That's how I started 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Many years ago, I had somebody say, Denise, can we, I really thought they were doing just a recorded interview. I didn't even know what podcasting was. Picked up the phone, dialed into the number they asked me to dial into, had a great time. We're still friends. And at the end of it, she called me. She said, hey, that was fun. The show's going to be out there in about 2 weeks. I said, what show? I had no idea what she was talking about. She said, Denise, that was a podcast. I said, tell me more. So she did. And I mean, within 3 hours, I had started Your Partner in Success Radio. And I knew it was going to be an interview podcast. We talked a bit about this earlier, but
yeah,
it just was such an easy way for somebody like me, who is a card-carrying introvert, who's not going to go hang around networking. I just won't do it. And this is was and is a terrific way for me to get my voice heard, network across the world, literally, and get to meet people and network and, become colleagues. I mean, it just keeps going and going and going. But I started by accidentally being a guest and went, aha. And it really was an eye-opener for me. But here's the thing. You need to figure out what it is that you bring to an audience. Go find some of the podcasts that you really, really like, and find out who they're interviewing. What are they talking about? You don't want to be in a crowd of people who are talking about, I don't know, mindfulness. If it's 100 people talking about mindfulness, find something different. But put together let's call it a podcast one sheet, and there are people who can help you with that. You need to come up with at least a minimum of 3 strong topics that you can speak to, because you may be on a 15-minute podcast. You may be on, like mine, an hour long. You need to have 3 different choices that they can choose of, and they have to be, different from each one. you need to be able to get on that phone or in that headset, or how are you going to get in there and speak graciously, knowledgeably. Did I say that right? Knowledgeably? I can't even.
Yeah, you did. That's a word.
It is now. It's a Southern word. But
Yeah.
you need to be comfortable. And let me tell you something. If you think, oh, I'm behind a phone, it's still public speaking. You need to
Yeah.
be careful with public speaking. You need to be enjoying it. And if you're not getting nervous when you get on somebody's podcast or even yours, you're probably not doing it right. I get nervous on mine every single time. Every single
I do too.
I know, and it's part of the okay, take a breath. I'm on stage, take a breath. I'm on stage. But there are so many different ways that you can get on somebody else's podcast, but you have to be articulate enough and interesting enough to get their attention. You don't want to go into LinkedIn and say, hey, by the way, I'd like to come on your show. And that told me nothing. You have to approach us like we're real people, like we're businesses. You need to give us the information we're looking for, that you have actually heard of us or have actually listened to our podcast. You know what we're doing, and you would like to be a guest, and here's why, and here's what you can share with the audience. Because remember, it's not about you. It's not about the host. It's about the audience.
It's about the audience.
And
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of people just fall down. Oh, I'm going to be on a podcast. Well, what does the audience get from you? If you don't know, you're
Right.
not ready to be a guest, and you're sure not ready to be a host.
Right. And when you talk about us, the one sheet and the 3 strong topics, and one sheet's easy to do, easy to make, but your topics, you need to structure, just like you said, your topics have to be what's in it for the audience. And it's like they're like lead magnets. They are, or signature talks. When you go to give a speech or something like that, or to go to ask for a raise, you've got to have a good convincing argument and a problem that you're solving, and maybe a process, and some stories to go around it too. To be a good guest, you want to be able to tell stories.
You want to be personable, but you want to be
Yeah.
very, very helpful. And you
Yeah.
want to, if you're working with a good podcast host, they're going to do everything they can to get you in front of the right people to, during the podcast, to say, okay, well, listen, Paul, where can people find you? How can they connect with you? Do you have any kind of last minute thoughts? We are doing everything we can to make sure that that guest is reaching everybody in our audience that they can. And here's something that I don't actually see a lot of, and I think it's a big mistake for podcast guests. They're not taking the show and just promoting the heck out of it once it's out there and done. They're just saying, oh, great, thank you. And they'll put it out there on their Facebook page, and that's it, all done. No. You took the time to show up as an expert, be the expert, get that show out there, have Canva, get some graphics, hire a virtual assistant. If you already have a VA, have them make sure that episode, whether it's you or me, Paul, or anybody, make sure that gets out there a lot. And I don't mean just one and done the day of, but I've interviewed people some really interesting, fascinating people. Not too long ago, I just reposted an episode I did with Larry Winget 8 years ago. It's still that good. And by the way,
Yeah.
keep it evergreen. Keep it evergreen. Don't try to come on somebody's podcast and say, oh, this is what we're doing right now. We've got this big event. That's wonderful, but it's not evergreen. So you have to make sure that when you're speaking with the guest and you're sharing to this big audience, that it's going to be just as pertinent as it was when you recorded it 4 years down the road. It's really important to think that way.
Mm-hmm. Good point. So what's a good way to approach someone to be on a podcast? And obviously you need to go and find the right podcast who has the audience that is your ideal client or your ideal audience. But how do you go about doing that? Are there some resources online that you can find? Or
typically people find an assistant to help them do it, but if you don't have the wherewithal, or you just can't afford to do that right now, one of the best ways that I had somebody ask me to come on my show was, I opened up my LinkedIn email box and there was this quick little recording from this gal. And she was so excited. And she said, She said, Denise, I just listened to, and she gave me the name of the podcast. She gave me the name of the person that I was interviewing. And she said, I was fascinated, and told me why she was so excited about this particular episode. I was hooked. I was like, really? She already got my attention. So she said, and this is what I do, and this is why I think I would be a great guest. She's been on twice. So you can do it very quickly. And I can't remember the tool that she used, but it's basically you just get in front of your computer, you do a little recording, and then you send it off. That's free. Yeah. But make sure you're giving that host some good information. Don't just say, hey, I want to be on your show. That's
right. So you were personable. She was personable,
very
specific, and she said, "What's in it for you?"
That's exactly.
and for her audience, for your audience.
Honestly, if I had to say start with something, that would be the thing to do. Go listen, actually listen, make sure that host is a good fit for you, and then send them a recording. It works. It's the best thing.
It's a great idea. I like that. And it's so easy to do.
Yeah.
Especially today, there's all kinds of tools, and you can if you've got a computer or a smartphone, you can do it. You can just talk into your phone and send it off, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be studio quality. It just has to be real and personable.
It does. And that's what we're looking for as hosts. We want somebody who's genuinely excited to be with us on the show, not just trying to, check something off of their list or sell something that they've got. We have good spidey sense. We're not going to let that happen.
Right. As far as podcast marketing 101, we've talked about being real. We've talked about your process. We've talked about being a guest, the pre-interview, which I hadn't thought of, which would be, I'm actually having one on Monday, which is a great idea. And we talked about some tools, raising brand awareness. What else should we talk about before we wrap up?
I'm glad you're doing that. I actually, on Tuesdays, I do my pre-interviews, and you just don't come on my show unless I've already met you. I've had that time to spend with you. And one of the gals that she's going to be in August, I believe, she said something. She said, this was so much fun. I feel like I already know you. And I get that a lot. And it just off the top of my head, because I knew I was going to be talking with you again today, I said, would you be willing to share with me maybe a quick, recording or a quick note why you felt that the pre-interview was probably one of the most important things that you have done in podcasting? She said, I would be happy to. I mean, I have had people, I don't know if I shared this with you before, but I've actually had people go after the pre-interview before they even got onto the show, because right now we're booking almost 2 months out, go to Apple and say, she's really good. Get on this show, put it in iTunes. So you're getting to meet the people. You're already comfortable with them. You know each other's, you already know how you speak. There's no awkward moments. I mean, you're ready to rock and roll. I think it's so critical to have that pre-interview for both parties.
That's excellent advice. So before we wrap up, do you have any final words besides that? What are really, the question is, I'm an implementer, so I always ask this question: what are 3 things our listeners can do today to put all these ideas into action?
Do some homework. Research where you want to be, where you want to be seen, where you want to be heard. There's a lot of podcasts out there who, just, hey, we'll take anybody. Come on, we'll take anybody. You're not going to get to your audience. Who is your audience? Then go find the podcast host. I can talk that are serving that audience, and then you ask yourself some relevant and insightful questions that truly highlight your unique perspective. And then what do? You're going to go do the video. You're going to do a one sheet. But if I were to say anything right now, the first thing to do is do your homework. Find the podcast that you really like. You like what they're doing. You like the audience, and start from there. Then start putting together your 3 topics, and there has to be at least 3. So you're going to need a one sheet. But, if you want to just start today, I would say sit down, turn on your phone, turn on your recording app, and start talking. How do you, just speak extemporaneously about something that you're really passionate about, that you think an audience is going to love, and just talk. And then listen to yourself and figure out, okay, that was pretty darn interesting. Oh, I see too many uhs and ahs, and I didn't really have I don't know where I was going with that. Record yourself a few times and get comfortable with it. Like I've shared with you, I can't stand the sound of my own voice, but I have to hear it all the time. I think, to me, I sound like I'm about to sing Happy Birthday, Mr. President. I think I sound ridiculous, but I still need to know what I sound like. So my best advice is start recording yourself, either, on the phone, on video, on whatever. Record yourself and get comfortable with it and have fun with it. It'll teach you a lot.
Yeah. What else? Anything else? So do your research, get a one sheet, and start recording yourself.
I would start with the recording first, just so you know when you're speaking spontaneously, you don't know what's going to come out of your mouth, but you're going to find nuggets there, and all of a sudden, ooh, that's a good topic. Listen to yourself, listen to your expertise, listen to what you've really got to say, what makes your voice go up an octave because you're so excited about it. Then work from there.
Excellent advice. And you said earlier too, as a podcast host, you want to give them as much love. Give your guests a lot of love and spread it around, and before, after, during, and all the way through. For me, it's been an honor and a pleasure just to meet you and to talk to you. And I think there's more that we can talk about, and we're running out of time today. But I'd love to have you back, and we can talk maybe more about spreading that love and some of the ways that we can do that, some of the tools we get, because we're both nerds. You're a nerd in stilettos.
I am.
And I'm a nerd behind the drum kit. So
I know. I would love to. And if I know what it is that you need for me to share, I can be a little bit less wandering around and more specific. So yeah, I'd be happy to. Although the wandering around part's kind of fun.
I like the wandering, quite frankly, but we'll try to work from somewhat of an outline. But again, thank you, Denise. I appreciate it. You can connect with Denise at www.denisegriffitts.com. That's 2 F's, 2 T's, no H and no N. Is that correct?
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah.
That's www.denisegriffitts.com. www.denisegriffitts.com. And remember, faith and action go hand in hand, so put the pedal to the metal. And until next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show, I'm Paul Guyon.
Thank you, Paul.
So long.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lead Machine Growth Show with Paul Guyon, where we show you how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream so that you can transform your vision into reality. Remember to visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show.